Pop quiz, my friends. What programming in your business right now, in your studio, currently holds over a 70, you know what, even, I'm not going to say 75% profit margin, over a 30% or 50% profit margin? For most studio owners, the answer is really none of them do, to be quite honest with you. So in this week, I'm going to show you um, how just a little outside the resin box thinking can do for you. And by simply taking your classes on the road and get outside the four walls of your studio, you can actually add a program that has one of the highest profit margins in our industry, bar none. If you're joining me, say hello. I want to know who's here. When I come on every single Wednesday, oh my goodness, I don't know if y'all can hear that. The gardeners at my office are literally right outside my window, like with the leaf blower. Like, what? Really? I don't know. Tell me if you can hear it. Good morning. Tell me if you can hear it, because right now it's probably just me. I'm probably the only one who can hear it, but it is so loud. We might have to edit this video later. Let me know. Good morning. You can hear it. Holy Jesus! Like, what are you gonna do, right? What am I gonna do? So hopefully, fingers crossed. Okay, well, fingers crossed, y'all, that it levels out shortly. We are moving, as you can see, I have artwork sitting up against the walls. We are moving our office this, it's true. I've heard worse in my life too. We are moving our office this Friday, which is so, so exciting. I don't like moving, but it's exciting because we are moving to a larger space. We've outgrown this one, which is great, right? To need a bigger space. So we're moving this Friday, and so things are a little bit. So hopefully, in our new office space, we won't have the gardeners with the leaf blower outside my window on our lives on Wednesdays. But I digress. So let's go ahead. I'm gonna bring it back in because it sounds like I think maybe they're done being right up against my window. That's next to my. Maybe I spoke too soon. But let's dive into it today because I have a lot of information to share with you. If you're joining us and you are here and you said hello, good morning. I appreciate you. If you're joining us or if you stumbled upon this somehow and you're not quite sure who I am or all of that or how you got here, I don't know. I'm Erin Burt, and I support dance studio owners and educators to really not only grow their businesses, but to create their own unique vision of success, whatever that looks like. Because honestly, and that's today when we're talking about getting outside the four walls of your studio, one of the things that I really, truly love about mobile programming is you get to decide how big you take it. There's not, the restrictions of building size because you're going out and you're meeting people where they're at, which allows you to do more if you so desire. But, when I first started out doing the mobile thing, my goals were not to serve thousands of students, if I'm being quite honest with y'all. When we made the decision to start our mobile program, it really was to replace my corporate salary because I was working in corporate HR. And while I was really good at my job, it actually started sucking the life out of me and had made me reflect and decide what is it that I wanted. And I wanted to come back home, and home was dance. but I wanted to do it in a way that felt in alignment with me and who I am, who I was then at the time, and who I am obviously becoming, and their values for our family. And so the mobile program just made sense. It really just made sense for us. And so my first goal was just to replace that salary. And I set my goal at, 100 students, um, to be able to do that and cross what I was already making at the time. So, but as I've grown, my dreams, my visions, my goals have grown as well. And so we're going to dive into some of that today. So, my friends, if you're joining us, say what's up. Let us know that you're here. I always want to know who's with me. And if you come back around on the replay, I would love to know that as well. It's gotten quiet outside my window, so I think we're good to go. So if you're joining me, say hello. If you would like a copy of today's show notes, just drop the word show notes below, and me and my team will get those over to you as soon as they are ready. So now I know some of you that are on this call who have said hello to me. You are clients already, and so mobile programs are not foreign to you. But for those of you, right? Yes, we will get those to you for sure. So let's talk about the idea of a mobile program. Now, when I speak about mobile programs, because it is what my heart, like, I love it all. I love anything. I shouldn't say anything. I love all the things when it comes to visual and performing arts education, and really making sure that we're plussing our industry. But a mobile program can be used in so many different fashions, right? And so I totally get it. Yes, when you have a toddler and you're multitasking, it feels like you can miss things. So we got you covered. We've got you covered. So a mobile program, the business model can be used in many different applications. I have some clients who are using this business model to serve primarily preschools and daycares. They want to use it to bridge and bring new students into their studio spaces. And so they want to get them when they're young, meet them where they're at, and do that. And that is totally fine. I have some clients who are using this business model to serve 55 and older communities. That's what they're using this business model for. So that's their focus, and that's what they want to do. I have some clients who are then leveraging it and saying, okay, I can really max this out. And they're using it in all the places. I have some clients who are doing preschools, daycares, 55 and over communities, local community centers, town halls, YMCAs, going into public school systems. Mobile just means that you're mobile, you're on the road, and you are taking your classes and meeting people where they are at, and not necessarily in your brick and mortar space. The beautiful thing about that is that, of course, when you are not paying all the overhead of a building, lights, toilet paper, all those things, and you're going out and meeting people where they're at, your overhead is very low, comparatively speaking, to a typical brick and mortar. Now, that's not to say that a mobile program has no expenses. If you are in business, you have expenses, okay? And there's some expenses that are going to be across the board no matter what. But the reality is that our expenses in a mobile program are very low, comparatively speaking. So you are able to really leverage this type of program and have really high profit margins. Now, I'm not going to really dive into a lot of math today. That's not what this call is about. But I will tell you that math dictates all that we want to do, and tells us what we need to do when it comes to pricing programs and all that good stuff. But what I could tell you to be true is you can run a program with a 75% profit margin. Been there, done that, have the receipts. can show you. Okay. So I want you to know that you can run your program at a 75% profit margin, which is bananas, right? That is pretty unheard of in our industry. So it can be done. It can be done. But we just have to have the right strategy in place. We have to know the math and go from there. Now, let me know in the comments. I would love to know if you are planning or if you've been thinking about a mobile or you've dipped your toe into mobile programming. What type of facilities would you love to serve? Is it preschools and daycares? Is it that 55 and over community? Is it public school systems? Is it going out into community centers or, like local YMCAs or, I actually even have a client who uses this business model to go out and serve corporations and bring classes to their businesses. Y'all, there are so many possibilities for mobile programming. But today the real focus was schools, but I want to know, where would you love to either focus on or expand? Let me know, because I want that to help drive our conversation today. Now, I want you to know that this year in our mobile program, we served over 8,800 students in our mobile programming this year, which is bananas, right? So you get to decide. My first dream was to have 100 students. That was my first dream, right? And over the years, my dream has evolved. My goals have shifted, and come to a place in my life where my kids are a little bit older. They're not, out the house yet. I still got a few years. Still got, at least 6 years before that happens. But I'm in a different place in my life, and I'm really leaning in toward the 3 pillars for myself. And my 3 pillars are creating an impact, right? Like, that is number 1 for me, is how do I make the biggest impact in my community? And so for me, I want to be able to serve and bring access and education and exposure to as many of our students as we possibly can. Okay. So 8,800 students is how many we served this year, which is absolutely phenomenal. And y'all, we're only going up from there. Let me tell you, I've got some big old goals, okay? But we served across some of those channels: preschools, daycares, public school systems. We went out and we met people where they were at, and we did some community offerings. So there's lots of different ways that we got to that number, right? So know that we can speak to kind of all those different things. Okay, so yes, Amber has some daycares and preschools and private school demos scheduled for the older. So good. Y'all, I just recognized I packed up my hand clappers and my pom-poms already. That makes me a little sad, but yay! Okay. Preschools, 3 to 5-year-olds, and possibly seniors, love it. After school programs in private schools as a feeder program to our main school, love it. Daycares, preschools, and maybe schools, but they're picky around us. So we're going to talk about that actually today, and kind of our journey to get there. Because what I will tell you is that depending on where you live, there is a shift, right? And what I know to be true, and I am very, very involved in the early childhood education industry. I am part of, NAUIC. I have, gone and spoke at their national conferences. We are very involved in that community because first and foremost, I decided that I was going to start with preschools and daycares because it was the easiest. Yes, it was my quickest path to cash, right? Now, I have to tell you, this was many years ago. If I were to tell you, I would definitely be dating myself. I have been in this mobile business for the last 18 teen years. Ugh, am I dating myself? I don't know. So I have been like doing this mobile thing for, almost 2 decades. And so um, for me, it was very important. And we started with preschools and daycares. And the reason I'm telling you that is because those in the past were typically the fastest path to cash, and they still can be. But what I can tell you is you have to know what's happening in your community. So the writing was on the wall here in California for the last decade. For the last decade, they have really been pushing the idea of rolling out a universal pre-K for all, which was moving, a lot of 4-year-olds, that's what they started with, but 4-year-olds into the public school system and it being free. Now, why that might not seem like a huge deal, it actually is a huge deal for us when it comes to our businesses. And what we saw is while we still have our tried and true privatized preschool programs, that parents sign up and pay for, whatnot, there was a shift. And enrollment shifted, right? Because let's be quite honest, if you have the opportunity to pay to have your preschool for free at the elementary school that your child will be attending the next year, for a lot of parents, that makes more sense than continuing to pay for a privatized preschool system. Okay. Um, so we saw that writing on the wall. So you have to know what's happening in your community to know how to structure your programming, how to really look at your goals and what's available to you. So there are some other states as well that have a universal pre-K for all option. And there's going to be more that are being rolled out across the nation in the coming years. So it is something to think about if preschools and daycares are, a niche that you would love to get into, then I would definitely know what's happening in your community, in your state, when it comes to those types of programs. So that is something that for us, we had to do a little bit of a shift and really propelled us moving into public school systems. So, okay. I used to run an after school program. If I could teach my program to someone else and have them implement it, I'd go that route, but I want my late afternoons and evenings free. So yes, so Cassandra, that's really for me when we started our mobile program. I was um, I was absolutely set on making sure that my nights and my weekends were open for my kids. So that is to me was really the most important thing, and so that's why I had to create a business that supported my unique vision of success. And success to me meant not only replacing my income, right? We needed it to pay our bills, but being able to take my kids to school and pick them up from school every day. Be able to go and take my kids to soccer and watch them play and go and do all the things. Like I wanted to still be as fully present as a mom as possible. So I had to create a business that supported that. And that's what I really feel about moving, doing these sort of things. Okay, so someone had mentioned that public schools are picky. Now, here's what I'm going to say about that is for me, I'm going to give you that, my experience. Again, this is just my personal experience and have been in it for so long. I said to you that preschools and daycares were my quickest path to cash. Now, you will find also those 55 and over communities. I'm coupling them with daycares and preschools. So know that because while, there's a little bit of tape to get through, it's not this whole big thing like public school systems are. Really, typically, it's quite easy to get a yes with the right strategies in place, with, knowing and having all the things. We have strategies that we implement, my clients implement. It's something I teach to them inside of our coaching programs. But having the right strategy, it's quite easy to get a yes in a preschool, daycare, private school, 55 and over community. It's quite easy. And I know that some of my clients that are on here can tell you that they didn't recognize how easy it was going to be once they knew and had the strategy of what to do when you're rolling it out. So, but it's quite easy. Now, what I will also say to be true is there are legalities. There's things that you have to have that you don't typically have to have in a brick and mortar. And so to be able to go into some of these facilities, there's additional certifications, things like there are certain things that you have to have in order to be allowed inside of those types of facilities. So while as long as you can check the boxes and meet all the requirements, it's quite easy, right? And yes, so I'm going to share because Amber is one of my clients and she says, for sure, it's easy with the right process, right? And that, my friends, it's really key is having the right process, the right strategy, knowing what's required of you. So when someone comes to me and we're chatting about, okay, I would like to do a mobile program, I will typically tell you your quickest path is to reach out to those daycares, preschools, even an after school program ish, depending on who's running the after school program. If it's a public school system that is running the after school program, you're still going to have sometimes a little more hoops to jump through. But if it is a privatized after school program or one that's ran possibly through like a nonprofit organization, you might have an easier time getting in. So the question came up about schools because here's the thing. My experience was I really started out in the privatized sector. I started out there for several reasons. One, it was my quickest path to cash. Secondarily, I wanted to build a name for our brand and for our business and for myself. I wanted to really build that up here in our community. And so that is the route that I started with. I really started with those privatized. I got myself involved, like I said, in the ECE community because I was serving them. And so I inserted myself into their community. I wanted to know all about their world, and I wanted to make sure that they understood that I understood them, right? So I inserted myself into the ECE world, which then as we saw the shifts, I saw the writing on the wall about pre-K for all being rolled out. And then of course we were hit with a pandemic, which shifted things completely for all of us. But really, here in California, we had pandemic, and then as soon as pandemic was over, they rolled out pre-K, TK for all. Okay, so there was some huge things that were happening. So we made the decision that we were going to start a nonprofit. And the reason that there's many reasons we did that. But really, when it comes down to public school systems, I don't want to tell you that it is impossible to get a contract with a public school system as a for-profit, because it is not impossible. What I will tell you is that the doors will open much easier when you are a nonprofit organization. There is just a different perspective when it comes to public schools and education, nonprofit versus for-profit. It has to do with some of the reporting, that has to happen when you are a nonprofit. So for us, the bridging was really becoming a nonprofit. And when we became a nonprofit, we decided we were going to go ahead and apply for some grants. We were awarded some grants where we were able to go in and serve some school sites absolutely free to those public school sites. But then what it's done is open the door now for paid contracts. And so we are receiving paid contracts from our school districts here, just as if and I don't want to say we were a for-profit, but it is just, we're charging those school districts accordingly, my friends. So for us, a nonprofit was the gateway to be able to serve more and make a bigger impact. So if you feel like your school districts are picky, right? A strategy to implement would be looking at possibly having a nonprofit organization. And if that's something that you would love to discuss and, dive deeper in, we can absolutely do that. What I would say is, just drop the word mobile below. And this is for whether you want to talk about nonprofits, getting support and launching your own mobile program. But what I could tell you is this, that yes, my big goal right now as I age, no, actually, you know what? I have to say this much. The older I get, like, I feel like obviously you grow as a person, but the reality is that I feel like I'm in my prime. Like, I don't look at middle age as like, oh, I'm like, ooh, like, it's gotten good. Right? Like, ooh, this is an era that I can get with, right? But the reality is that I'm really focused on three things right now in this season of my life. I am focused on creating an impact in our local community as much as possible, also in our industry on a global scale. And so I'm really, really committed to making an impact. The second thing that I'm really committed to is building an empire. And when I say that, I think sometimes people might have a negative connotation to the word empire. But here's what I feel about empire. Now, I had someone say, Erin, how are you building an empire when it's a nonprofit? I'm like, what I see as building an empire is building something that makes such a huge impact in our community that I am a huge job creator. I am bringing money into our community, right? I'm supporting our community at the highest level. I'm building an empire in our industry, and I'm helping studio owners around the world, y'all. Like, in my earlier years, right? Like, in my earlier years, I would never in a million years think that I would be on a path where I have clients around the world. So what I can tell you is this, that's number two. That's building an empire. To me, it's that taking that pebble, turning it into a ripple, turning it into a tsunami, because the more studio owners that I help around the world, the more students that they get to help around the world. And yes, the third thing is legacy. Legacy. I want this to live on way after I'm gone. I want my grandkids to feel the impact from the seeds that we planted right now in our students and our community to create humans who are productive members of society because they had the opportunity to get that access and that exposure to arts, and it changed their life. That's what I'm committed to right now. And that's what the mobile program has been able to do for us, and it can do for you. You get to decide. You get to decide what you want it to look like. That's a beautiful thing, right? Without the restraint necessarily of, oh my gosh, I've got a studio, I've got all, you get to decide. And that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. What I can tell you is anything is possible. Anything is possible. You have to decide it is, and you have to take the action to make it happen. And so, my friends, if you are thinking this is like, yes, this is something that I want to do, but I don't know all the things about the business side of stuff. I don't know what legal things I need. I don't know, the marketing side. I don't know the process. then I want you to drop the word mobile below and we can chat about how I support my studio owners with launching their own mobile programs or scaling them. So if you've dipped your toe in and you're like, yes, I've gone to a couple and I love it and I want to do more of it, but I'm not sure how to scale this and make it work on a large scale, y'all, after serving 8,800 students this year, I can tell you a thing or two about doing this on large scale. So this is something that you get to decide what you want it to look like. Okay, so if you're interested in learning more about how I support my studio owners with mobile programs, just drop the word mobile below. We can talk about that. Now, I'm a person who wants to give a few little nuggets, no matter what. Whenever I come on here, I want to make sure that you get value and takeaway from this. And so my first suggestion for you, if you're thinking about going mobile, right? If you're thinking about going mobile, I would love to give you a couple little nuggets to kind of take a look at. Number one, decide what your focus is going to be first. Is it going to be going into those 55 and over communities? Is it preschools and daycares? I know some of you dropped some of the different areas that you would love to, go and focus on. And so the first thing is really take a look at, number one, decide what your niche is first. Who do you want to serve first, right? Because there are so many possibilities. Second thing is, then I would take a look and see what's required of me to serve that particular community. What are the legalities, right? Because unfortunately, I guess, there's no, here in the US, I'm going to use preschools and daycares, for example. There is no national standards across the board of, if you are an outside vendor, these are the requirements that you need. It is decided at a state level. So while some states, it's, like California, we're a little extra here in California, right? We're a little extra. But what I could tell you is when I was in North Carolina, I was actually a little shocked at how little they required to be able to take our programming into school sites. To me, honestly, it was a little bit scary. That being said, it made life easier because not much was required. Here in California, that's a totally different story. So if you are thinking about, Sandra, we are a lot extra, okay? And I'm not saying in this instance it's a bad thing, because it's really trying to keep children safe. But the key is knowing what are those requirements for you. Okay, so if you're looking at, especially, and even for public school systems, right? Like if you're thinking, hey, I want to get in those public school systems because, honestly, the contracts are great. I'm going to be transparent with you guys, okay, because that's who I am. We have already secured $250,000 worth of public school contracts for next school year. And that was in the last 4 weeks. We are obviously setting up for next school year, and there's conversations and there's proposals that have been sent out to other school sites. But what I will tell you is that's just the beginning. So you get to decide what it looks like. Now, of course, I have lots of staff members. We've got lots of different things happening. So, but I just want you to know what's possible, and that if you decide you want to go the public school route, which is possible, anything is possible, my friends, start with what's required of you. What are they going to want to let you walk through their doors and say, okay, You've met the requirements. Now we can have a conversation. Okay. That's your homework for today. Now, if you drop the word mobile, know that I will reach out to you in Facebook Messenger. We will have a conversation, kind of start to chat, and then possibly get you on my calendar for us to have a Zoom where we can talk about strategy and how I support my clients and how we can roll that out on a timeline that feels really good to you. One of the things that I give all of my clients is a 30-day launch calendar, which means you could literally and do it even in less than 30 days, but 30 days and you could have your first classes going, which is bananas, right? So I will reach out to you if you said the word mobile. What I want you to know and what I hope to leave you with is this, that the first step is make the decision. Make the decision. Strip away all of the ideas of how do I make this work? How, like we tell ourselves stories about how hard it's going to be. But the truth is, it doesn't have to be hard. It actually doesn't have to take you a ton of time either. Strip away all of the ideas or all the stories that we tell ourselves when we go to launch something. And really make the decision. Make the decision. If this is something that you want to do, go forth and take the action. Do the homework that I just gave you. And if you need additional support to get you from A to B in the quickest fashion possible, let me know. Drop the word mobile and we will chat. So my friends, the big thing, okay, I'm going to share, Amber, I hope you don't mind me sharing this, but that's the truth. I built it up to be hard to convert places, but it's not. When Amber and I, actually, I'm going to just tell a little story. I have a few minutes before my next client because, I stack them on Wednesdays. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, they're stacked. Okay, but real quick, last summer, Amber and I were met. We were together in person. We sat down and we started to roll out her plan to launch a mobile program. And one of the things that came up was that, internally, she had built it up to be really hard to do, to sell, to like, oh my gosh, telling ourselves we understand our studio spaces, but we don't understand what these other people need. And together, I shared the plan. We customized and tweaked the plan according to her specific goals, her specific needs, the staff that she had to roll it out, right? Because Amber doesn't go and teach these classes, okay? With her staff that she had on hand, and she's on a roll now, y'all. She's on a roll. And she's doing it not only on her nonprofit side, but also in her for-profit side. So there are opportunities for both. The worlds can live happily in harmony in marriage. You just have to make the decision that it's possible. And then get support accordingly if you need it. So you don't have to do this alone. But my friends, the key to getting yourself inside of schools is really that homework that I gave you. Number one, it starts with knowledge, understanding what's required of you. I have no doubt that you are amazing educators. Everyone who comes to me doesn't necessarily need help with teaching classes or with lesson plans or curriculum. Really, it really comes down to this business side of things, the legalities, what's required of you. What's the marketing side of it, the finances side of it, like how that's a little bit different from maybe your brick and mortar studio, or how to set it up to be successful. That's where my clients come to me. Not that I can't help you with the curriculum and that sort of stuff, but really the majority of it happens because of the not knowing the systems or feeling confident in going out and soliciting yourself to others when we're so used to people coming to us. So I'm going to leave you there. I hope you all have a fantastic week. Next week, I have a special guest from across the pond. He is going to be joining us. And y'all, I'm going to tell you, you don't want to miss it. Delightful. Totally delightful. We're going to have a good time. We're going to chat. So I'm going to have a guest on next week. I hope you will join me for another episode of the Erin Bird Live Show, where every single week we talk business strategy, mindset, tips and tricks, and hopefully a little bit of joy. But I will see you all again next week. And if you need additional support with mobile programming, like I said, drop the word mobile program. Even if you come back on the replay, we want to know that as well. And I will see you all very, very soon. Bye, my friends.